Okay, I'd like to do a reading today from my book, Courage at Sea, Newfoundland Sailors in the Great War. There's 41 stories here which I researched in the past couple of years of the merchant marines of Newfoundland who brought the fish and supplies overseas, and also there's stories here of the Royal Navy Reservists, those who joined the forces to serve at sea. My story is taken partly from chapter 14 of the 41 chapters in this book, and it's the story of the HMS Laurentic. The HMS Laurentic went down off Ireland on January the 25th in 1917. It struck a mine. There were 29 Royal Navy Reservists from Newfoundland on the Laurentic. They were returning to North America and leave in Newfoundland, and of those 29, 20 perished. Of the 9 survivors, there's one story from a Mr. Green that I would like to read in part from the chapter on the HMS Laurentic. 10 months after the Laurentic's loss, the story of the heroism of survivor J. Green of St. John's Without became known. There was some initial confusion over the proper name for Green, as the St. John's Daily News, in its story Heroes Returning of March the 5th, 1917, identifies him as Ed Green. Nevertheless, his physical and mental toughness and courage as one of the boys in blue was outstanding. His lifeboat, driven 30 miles off land, was eventually sighted by the rescue ship, one of Britain's trawlers of the Mosquito Fleet. Green was virtually the only one conscious in this lifeboat. 3 others were unconscious and barely alive. The remainder of the original 40 in the boat had succumbed to the cold and exposure. Green caught the rope from the trawler and secured the lifeboat. On the deck of the vessel, he was given stimulants and sent to a cabin, but although he was weak and shivering, he returned to the deck to assist in getting the unconscious men aboard and to help in restoring their health. Green said afterwards, "During the 15 hours adrift, my lifeboat capsized 3 times and 15 bodies washed away, but the others, 21 in number, were lashed to the thwarts, and thus they were saved for burial after they had perished. The boat was kept afloat because it contained air tanks." Green was given great praise by his rescuers. He was also awarded a substantial sum of money. And that's one of the stories of the survivors of the Laurentic, which went down, and Mr. Green, who survived. I began researching Courage at Sea, Newfoundland Sailors in the Great War, about 2 years ago. And I knew the anniversary of the beginning of World War I was about to happen. I also knew there had been quite a number of stories written about the regiment, those men, brave men and honourable men who fought in Europe and on the killing fields of France and Belgium. And their stories have been often told, but I wish to tell the stories of the merchant seamen, the men who took the supplies and fish on small vessels, schooners from Newfoundland. They took these to Europe and to England and to Portugal. They were often unarmed ships, and they were defenseless sailors, basically. Many of them were intercepted by German submarines. I researched their stories basically in the newspapers, but also I had a lot of personal information come over the years, because I've been researching the ships of Newfoundland now for quite a number of years. And throughout that time, people had sent me personal stories of their fathers or grandfathers who had survived probably an attack by the enemy submarines. So combined with the stories of the reservists, the Royal Navy Reservists, and those merchant seamen, I felt there was the making of a book. So I began to write the core stories, and I researched others over a period of 2 or 3 years, and eventually my book ended up into 41 stories of the Great War at Sea. And combined with those, I acquired a number of terrific photos of ships and sailors, and maps and illustrations, lists of things that happened, And combined, I think the book turned out very well. It seems to have struck a chord with a number of readers already, and hopefully this book will help commemorate the great losses that we had in the Great War.